Why the CRF300L might be the best dual sport. I've ridden just about every single 250 there is out there, from dirt bikes to the actual dual sports. And better yet, I have the 701 Enduro and the DRZ400 that I can kind of compare these to. These were just released in the USA. I have not test ridden them yet, but I sure am going to soon, along with other numerous bikes, including the Tenere 700. Unfortunately, many bikes are sold out, or many rental places are booked until things kind of settle down with this pandemic. Now, why do I exactly think the 300 is possibly the best dual sport around? Maybe even better than the KLX 300 or even the 701 Enduro. And what I mean by best dual sport dirt bike is in its own class, of course, and its own use. Obviously, it's not going to be the best at enduro races or best on the street. Now, the CRF300 and the Rally starts off at $5,200 and $6,000. That is one hell of a price for today's market. So for what you are getting, you really can't beat this price. You might say, I can get the DRZ400 used for half that. Why don't I just do that? Well, I will get to that later as to why maybe the 300 is a better choice. So to top everything off, I remember driving my KLX 250 for about 40 miles to get to my trail destination. You have to remember though, I am a heavier guy at 230 pounds, and also this was taking place at 9,000 feet elevation, so a lot of power was lost. The KLX 250 was able to manage getting out there, but being a high-speed state in Colorado, always hitting the throttle at max was very exhausting and tiring, not to mention trying to pass cars, or even just keep up for that matter. It was not fun in my opinion whatsoever, and was definitely not happy on how it performed at higher speeds. And I don't mean comfort was fine for me. However, as soon as I went on single track, the KLX 250 became a different breed. It has plenty of low end to keep you tractoring. Besides, there is only so much power you can really utilize on single track, so the 250 was definitely good on power there. So why the 300? Well, the peak power output is now 27 horsepower at 8,500 RPMs and 20 foot-pounds of torque at 6,500 RPMs. While the KLX 250 rates it at 24 crank horsepower and 15 foot-pounds of torque, which is a significant difference. This extra torque allows to pull easier through the streets, yet keeps its linear delivery when I decide to do single track. Essentially, the CRF300 is a plated dirt bike with a lot better road matters versus a traditional dirt bike at half the price. Not to mention, Honda was able to shed almost 20 pounds in the model compared to the CRF250L. The curb weight of the new Honda 300 is 309 pounds versus the traditional 322 pounds, essentially making it almost the same weight as my KLX 250, which is not bad on tight single track. But why do I keep saying tight single track? Well, this is where the true colors of a dual sport usually shines, in tight single track or very technical trails. Here you will be able to pick up details on how heavy it is, how tiring it is, and how hard it is to keep it balanced if you get knocked off your line. While most open roads and 50-inch trails, you usually can't feel much of a difference between a light dual sport and an actual dirt bike. And let me tell you, the KLX 250 handles tight single track just fine, making it an above average trail machine. Now to get to the better picture of why I think the Honda 300 might be the best dual sport of its kind, we have to go to my DRZ400 and the 701 Enduro. and compare it to the KLX 250.
What is it? We got a blue diamond out here. Woo! So much fun.
On my local single track that is fairly tight, I am much more faster on the KLX 250 versus the 701 Enduro. Our single track is called 770, and no, it's not difficult, but a lot of turns really test your balance and make you do handlebar locking turns about every other section.
Stand up again. It's hard to do this trail sitting down.
The 701 wears me out incredibly fast versus the KLX 250 and the DRZ400. I can perhaps do 3 or 4 sections of the 770 on the KLX 250, while on the 701 Enduro, I am too tired to continue on with just one section. Now, if we were to compare the Honda 300 with its new power delivery and weight ratio, it's exceptionally much better versus most 250s and 200s in today's market at an incredible price. Now, let's mix everything up all together to get the bigger picture, then talk about the DRZ400. The KLX 250 was horrible on our high-speed roads to get to my local trailhead. It does good on the city streets, but once you're hitting high speeds, I'm not terribly happy with it. However, it did excellent on our tight single track for what it is. The 701 Enduro did awesome on the road, but average on our tight single track, which can really tire you out though. While on the KLX 250, I still had plenty of energy to give. So now comes out the new Honda CRF300. Now, this is a machine I can finally use at our elevation at half the cost. More reliability, yet does awesome in tight single track. Now the Honda 250 versus the 300 has some huge benefits. The Honda 300 now has 11 inches of ground clearance and 2.2 inches of suspension travel, while the 250 only had 10 inches of ground clearance and 9 inches of suspension travel. So essentially Honda revamped the CRF model with more dirt bike personality. Now let's get even a bigger picture. Why not just get the DRZ400? It's more powerful and it's essentially lighter versus the Honda, and of course cheaper when bought used. Keep in mind I am comparing the DRZ400E because this is the more off-road oriented model. I mean, you guys are right. The DRZ400E is a better off-road machine versus the KLX 250, but the KLX 250 is a better off-road machine versus the DRZ400S model. But for this purpose, we will use the E model. Now, I would say if you are 100% dirt with some maybe trail hopping in mind, perhaps the DRZ400E is a better pick. You can just gear it to 1348 and not have to worry about that last gear, since you mostly off-road. But on the DRZ400E, it just feels so outdated, to be honest. The machine is a tank. You feel it with every movement and ride. The newer dualsport models are just so much smoother in every way, from braking to power delivery to how it even handles and how it feels. But don't get me wrong, the DRZ400E is still one of the best dualsports in today's market, regardless of age. The DRZ400 has 5 gears, which is no big deal if you mostly off-road and just decide to leave it in a low gear, say 1350. My KLX 250 can top out at 74 miles per hour with 1350 gearing because of that 6th gear, while my DRZ400 screams at 65 miles an hour with 1350 gearing on that last 5th gear. With the new Honda CRF300, the 6th gear is a tad bit longer versus the KLX 250, from what I've heard. So you can still lower the CRF300 gearing and still probably cruise at 70 miles an hour. To me, all of these factors about the CRF300 is just mind-breaking. It's the perfect machine to get to your trailhead destination. It finally has the power, yet it has mellow power delivery to do single track and 50-inch trails. Now, I personally think this is just a stepping stone towards manufacturers. I believe down the road eventually they will release a 350 model, and that is what I am waiting for. But for now, the CRF300 seems like a very good pick, not to mention for entry-level riders. Anyhow guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know if you're happy with the CRF300, or perhaps you wish they maybe released a 350 or even a 400 model. Anyhow, go ahead and subscribe, hit that bell button, and I'll catch you guys on my next video.